This PowerPoint, Prof K's Tips for Puppet Making with Children, will help prepare you for doing puppet projects with kids of all ages, even adults. Whenever you make puppets, you need to find ways to encourage creativity. So how can you do that? First, allow for individual expression. Give opportunities to make choices so everything does not look alike. Try to avoid Xeroxing. Go beyond copies of pages to cut and color. It's a very bad habit that we fall into as teachers, thinking that the only thing that students can do is color something that's already pre-made for them. When you encourage individual expression, you'll be amazed at what your students come up with. Some children may be afraid to take a risk at first. Just stay positive and remember to emphasize process. Provide a structure that allows for multiple solutions to any of the puppets that they make. Remember that creative problem solving is the key, not making something that looks just like what you have made. Here are some examples of masks that were made to go along with the music Carnival of the Animals. You can see that there was lots of individual expression as part of this project. It is often helpful to provide examples for your students so that they can see what the end project might look like, but keep them simple. That way it's less tempting for your students to copy. Then you want to model using your puppet by making it move, making it talk. You can even start with something like, "Hi, my name is Penelope and I like to eat plums." Here's a teacher using a simple example as a model. She's using her puppet, but you notice that the model doesn't even have all of its features, so that children can use their imagination about what they might be able to create. When you do a puppet project, you want to think carefully about the skill level of your students, but don't be afraid to be challenging. It's usually better to present projects that are slightly above the ability level of the children rather than below. This allows for mastery of new skills. Then you can encourage them to learn new things. You want to be challenging, but you also want to take the skill level of the child in mind. For example, these Muppet-style puppets, the bodies were pre-made so that the students could spend their time adding features like eyes, teeth, hair, all of those to make their Muppet monsters. This way they felt successful rather than frustrated about how to get that mouth glued inside their puppet. Remember to stretch the imagination. You can use a rich source of materials. We will try to provide them for you so you can go beyond just paper plates and construction paper. Don't be afraid to look in the classroom. There's lots of things in those cabinets. Another thing to do is ask open-ended questions. Instead of questions with yes or no answers, try asking who, what, when, where. So instead of asking, "Does your puppet like to eat cookies?" you can ask, "What does your puppet like to eat?" That way you can allow the child to come up with the answers themselves. One of the best approaches is to ask, "Can you tell me about your puppet?" Try to avoid asking, "What is it?" or even worse, "Look at that giraffe," only to find out that it's really a turtle. It's very important to be positive in your feedback. How can you do that? You can offer individual recognition and group encouragement. But the most important part of being positive is to be honest. It also helps if you are specific in your feedback. When you give general terms, that may not mean very much to your students. One way to do that is to use I see instead of I like. That way, students aren't stuck trying to please the teacher and guess what you like, but instead hear what you observe in the work. Then that's a good model for them to do the same thing. And many of us have done this. Good job can feel empty if it's used too often, especially when a group finishes doing something and we just hear, good job, okay, now on to the next one, so that there's nothing specific about it. A much better approach to simply saying good job is to be specific. Look for shapes, colors, textures, lines, character, and other things you can observe in the student work. Be sure you refer to the handouts about how to talk about art with your kids. I think you'll find them very helpful. And here is a warning. Let the students do all of the project. Do not do it for them, even if they ask, even if they beg, even if time is running out. The most important thing you can do is allow them to solve the problem themselves. Many students would rather have someone else do the project for them. It's easier. But the reward comes when they learn they can do it for themselves. So when you hear, will you do this for me? You have to remind them that it's their work. It's important for them as an artist to create it themselves. You may get, you mean I have to create it myself? Oh no! And then hopefully you'll get, wait, that was fun. And eventually, I did it. So how can you help? Well, there are lots of things you can do to help the students make their puppets. First, you can ask questions to help with the decision-making process. Simply asking things like, what kind of eyes do you want? What should the hair look like? Might help the students make more creative choices. You can offer several choices. Simply ask, do you want red, blue, yellow? Might help them center on one specific thing. You can help hold things, and you can show how without actually doing it for your students. If you're using a glue gun, you can say things like, I'll hold while you glue, or with very young children, you can say, show me exactly where you need this glued. You will be surprised, as will your students, at how successful they can be in making their puppets. Then you'll get groups of proud students saying, look what we did. For your information, all of the photos in this PowerPoint are examples of student work from projects in past after-school programs. If you approach it in the right way, you can let it be an experience to remember for both you and the students you work with for a long time.